Shaw, right on the left-hand side. United looking to score early. In just the second minute of this season, Manchester United have a penalty, and Marty says it just hit him. Paul Pogba then, in the third minute of the game. Penalty against Kasper Schmeichel. It's Pogba! Perfect start. Paul Pogba, the captain, the World Cup winning captain. United off to a flyer, 1-0. And Didi. And Ricardo. Madison! Terrific save. Inacho on the rebound took far too long. Pogba. He plays in Sanchez. Sanchez. Waits for support. Mata!
Did it take deflection?
He thought so. He thought so. His header. Shaw just knocked off the ball by Vardy. Dangerous ball into Inacho, and that's a really good save there. Had to be alert.
What a terrific save against you, the goalkeeper.
It's shot that. Lindelof alert.
Victor let not a bad ball there.
Sanchez trying to hassle Morgan. Sanchez, Lukaku to finish it! Oh my goodness, how on earth did United not scored there? What an opportunity for Lukaku. Pogba. And again, Paul Pogba. Three.
Well done, referees. Let play continue, Stuart.
Mata trying to pick a pass here. Shaw is in there. And scores! Luke Shaw, his first ever goal in professional football. And he wins it on opening day for Manchester United. Luke Shaw, 2-0.
I think Luke Shaw, if you've been listening to this commentary, probably at the end of the year, because you've said it so many times, he's never scored for United, so you have to be quiet from now on.
Never scored for anybody. Ricardo. Oh, dangerous. Oh, he's boxed in the end. Vardy does score. Ricardo's ball across seemed to hit the post.
It did hit the post. Now goalkeeper thought it was going for a dead ball, Stuart. I thought you let him pick it up, the goalkeeper.
Opening day victory for Manchester United. Goodness me, they had to work hard, but they've got the job done. Manchester United 2, Leicester 1.
Hello?
Hello.
How was that?
That was good.
Yep.
So I think you need to move a little more. Get your face in the center of the screen. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So good first game. Yep.
What's that?
Welcome back to the channel.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, so that was a pretty good first game. What do you think?
Yes, happy. So I'm smiling. So you can see like how I'm feeling. So yeah, a victory is a victory. So yes, I'm happy. How do you think like we played?
So I watched most of the game, and I thought my initial impressions were I think we were good. I wouldn't say we were brilliant. We were good. I know that we can play a lot better. The one complaint that I had right from the first half, after like the first 20-25 minutes, was we sort of started to sit back a little bit. We had the 1-goal advantage, but we started to sit back a little bit. We didn't press them enough when Leicester had the ball. And I felt that we probably should have pressed them a little bit more, especially in the midfield, because I think we gave Madison just too much time to get the ball, turn, look up and pass. So I think that I would see a little bit more of a pressing game there, especially we played a 3-man midfield. So I was expecting us to press a little bit more. But apart from that, I think we were okay. Leicester had a couple of good chances, and I think we kind of were lucky that they didn't score more. How about you? What did you think?
Yeah, it's a good start. 3 points on the board. Happy with the result. So when it comes to result, like when it's a victory, 1-0, 2-1, so it doesn't matter. So you won. How we played, yes, it wasn't the best of us. Like we could do better. But anyway, a lot of people were predicting that we may not be able to win the opening games with the squad we have, with people returning from injuries. And so in that context, I think like we did well to get 3 points home game. Um, we should have got 3 points, and we did. It was expected of us. So I'm happy. So I'll agree with you that after we got the first goal and after the first half an hour or so, we stopped pressing. But then as under this manager, like I don't think pressing is our game. So we can complain about it and say, but yes, Jose teams press in certain matches and tactical situations, but that's not how his teams are set out to be. And I was also thinking that the midfield to one new player, like Jose said, and also one new player in Andres Pereira. He's coming back to England after spending 2 seasons in France, and Pogba tired legs up to the World Cup, 3 weeks vacation, and just 4 days of training. So I could give them a little slack there. And so when you saw the video, yes, Leicester had chances, but we also had chances to kill the game. Lukaku, I give him a lot of shit. I criticize him a lot, even last season, even now. But he has gained my respect as a fan. He's hardworking, his attitude, his temperament is really good. But as a striker, you should put those away, finish those. The one Sanchez set him up for that. So yeah, these are my thoughts, and 3 points. We have to build on this, maintain momentum. Sorry, build the momentum. And I think the next game is an away game, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Brighton. Brighton. Yes.
Yeah. We're playing away to Brighton. So if you don't mind, so what I wanted to do was basically we can go through the lineup, United lineup, and just talk about how each player did
Sure.
for the first game.
Yeah.
So let's start with De Gea in goal. What do you think?
Yeah, back to his familiar ground, and he had a bad World Cup. So I think he's back to being like making saves. So one of the stats, he made 4 saves in the first half, and that was more than his entire tally in the World Cup.
Yeah.
So that's good for us, good for De Gea to show that he still is back and he has his old form as last season. But that doesn't bode well for our defense. So why did he have to make those 4 saves? So, but let's go by player by player. Yes, De Gea, definitely I'll give him like a 7 of 10. Yeah, 7 out of 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the 2 really critical saves. I think the first one was the shot out of Maddison from within the box in the first half. That was, I think, one place where again mentioned that we gave him too much space to turn and take the shot there, especially in the box. I think the second save was, which I thought was pretty big, was I guess in the second half after Luke Shaw had that one moment of lethargy. Basically, he gave the ball away on the wing, and then Iheanacho had the shot, and I think De Gea did well to save that. I did not think, apart from that, there were actually much threatening. I thought those were the 2 biggest chances, and the third one was the one which they scored anyway, with Vardy hitting the post and then going back in. So I think I would agree with you. I think De Gea had a pretty decent game, and I think the saves came out of defensive errors a little bit. So I would probably give him a 6 out of 10, mostly because I didn't think he was really called into action as much, and I think that's a little unfair to De Gea because we're used to seeing him playing at a much more insane level, so much that I think any other keeper with that performance would probably get like an 8 or 9. So I'm kind of biased, I guess. I'm expecting a lot more out of De Gea because of what he's shown us in the past, I guess.
Yeah. So
Darmian, I thought he was, like Darmian is the kind of player who I don't think, he doesn't light the field on fire. Like he's never been that player who's like amazing on any given day, or he's also not the player who's like the worst. Like on some days he's probably really bad when he gets like completely overrun by the winger from the other team. But I thought this game he was he was okay. Like he wasn't really, he didn't have a big presence in the game. I guess especially because I think Leicester had a lot of their chances on their left side, basically United's right side. I know, like I think Gray and who's the other guy on their left side. They basically, I think, started a lot of their attacks down their left. So I guess Darmian was mostly pinned back down, and he was pretty much just doing defensively. I don't think I saw him go up much. So I would say he had an okay game. I would probably give him like a 6 as well. I don't think he had a great game or like a bad game.
Yeah, he didn't do anything rash or stupid. He didn't do any major mistakes. He did a job. So yeah, same. What about the centre back pairing? This is the center. My personal, as a fan, my first choice centre back pairing of Eric Bailly and Victor Lindelof, and both of Jose Mourinho signings. And I want them to play this season like as a pair. For a number of games without getting injured or going like a dip in form. I want them to form a stable pair. That will be crucial for us this season. So first game, yes, nothing major, solid, I would say. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I think Bailly and Lindelof is also my preferred centre back pairing for the season. I would hope that. I think they're both fairly complementary types of players. I think Bailly is the kind of centre back. He's physical, he's strong. He made a couple of really good defensive tackles and defensive headers. So he's like a very strong physical presence, and he's also not afraid to carry the ball up front when he's on the ball. He's pretty comfortable. So I really like that about Bailly. Lindelof had a spectacular World Cup. I really loved him in the World Cup, and I just hope he comes. He's in that same form. Brings that form into the Premier League. It's his second season here, so I think this is the season where he's probably going to be more comfortable in his game, and I hope he gets more starts. And Bailly and Lindelof, as you said, I hope they get to play more games as a pair, because I really think this is the pair that can hold the defense down. I really expect that. Yeah, so I think they both had a really, really good game. They were really physical. They held the fort down, except those one or two moments where there were gaps in the defense where they let people shoot. But apart from that, I guess that's okay in any game. So I guess overall, I think they had a pretty good game. I would give them like a 7.5, maybe even an 8, I guess, for this game.
Yeah, I would give 7. I want to see. Let's see it goes. And yeah, Luke Shaw. We have to talk about Luke Shaw. First senior goal in 134 appearances, I think. So
yeah.
He didn't score any goal for Southampton, and he has been
his
playing
first senior goal ever. Yeah.
For Mr. Van Gaal, and now 2 seasons under Jose. And yes, injuries. He had a share of injuries. That unfortunate knee injury. Then he came back. He came back to the team. He lost his place. Fitness issues, attitude problems, or all those rumors you read. And we want him to succeed. And hopefully, I would not read too much into it. It's a positive, but I want to see some consistency. It's a good game. He played well. Apart from that one mistake, he got a goal. So yes, I'll give him a 6.5. But considering Luke Shaw, 6.5 is actually a positive for him, because earlier I would have given him like 4 or 5, like his previous performances. So I'll just give him a 6.5. But hope to see more of the same from him, like commitment, fitness, and tactical discipline.
Yeah, and I know, like I told you in the last video that we did, that Luke Shaw was one of the players I thought we should sell because I didn't think he deserved another chance. But if he plays like the last game, or hopefully a little bit better than the last game, because he still had a couple of lapses in defense, basically giving the ball away. But going forward, I think Luke Shaw has been, he was fairly good in the game. He gave us a good option going forward in the attack. He had a couple of good runs, and I think that was a good goal. Even though his first touch was horrible, he managed to get back somehow and then scored in. So I think good for him. It's a pretty good start to the season for him. Hopefully he carries on the momentum. He's on his last year of his contract, so we haven't signed an extension either. So I guess it's the ball's basically in his court to prove just how much or how good he can be, because I don't think he can continue forever with just being a great potential youth player. I think he has to step up and show exactly what he's made of. And I think this is the season where he has to prove. Basically, it's up to him to win a contract at Man United, or he's gonna go on as a free agent basically at the end of the season. Yeah, so that's what I think about Luke Shaw.
The Brazilian duo, the new couple of Brazilians that we have in our team, like Andreas Pereira and the new signing Fred.
Yeah.
What do you think of them? Like, I was personally like, Andres Pereira, I have like a bias in favor of him. Like, that's because I've been like following him. I used to talk about him like 4 years back, 3 years back, even before, like when he was 18, 19, and nobody used to speak about him. And yes, he didn't show any special potential then, but like, I liked him. I saw some sparks and all. So I think the 2 seasons in Spain did a really good deal to him. Like, was good for him. Yes, he wasn't starting every game for Valencia, but he was there and playing at the top level in the La Liga, and I guess that gives a confidence to the young player. So again, first match, he didn't do anything really stupid. He's still young. He's a good passer. He has a good passing range and passing ability. So I was impressed with that. Fred, again, one of the players I've never seen him play before pre-season last year. I heard about him. I watched some YouTube videos, but I've never seen him play full match, follow him. So he did good. He did well. So we need them to do well because Matic is still a few weeks away from full fitness and come back. So Matic so we need these 2 guys to do a good job. And these are different type of players. So what do you think about the Brazilian duo?
I really liked Pereira in this game, and just like you, I think I'm biased because he's from the academy. So I obviously want anyone who's from the academy to do well for the first team. And I was actually pleasantly surprised that Pereira was playing in a defensive midfielder role because I always thought he was more of an attacking midfielder, and I think he was employed more as a winger at Valencia than as an attacking midfielder as well. So I was a little apprehensive at the start of the game to see him play as a defensive mid, but I think he proved everyone wrong about his. So he's got good tactical awareness. He was very disciplined. I think he kept the game very simple. He kept his passes simple. He wasn't trying for any overly ambitious balls and giving it away. So I think I really like that he went in there, did the job that he was asked to do. And yeah, I definitely want him to play more games this season. And it looks like this is the season where he's going to stay at United, fight for a first place team. And I really hope that he does well because I think it's also a good time for him to get into the team because we have a few players getting old, like Mata's getting older. So Matic is not going to be around for too long. So I guess it's probably a good time for him to get into the team, fight for his plays, get some experience playing with the senior members right now. So I think that's great for Pereira. As far as Fred goes, again, just like you, it's the first time I'm watching him play a full game. And I liked Fred because he was trying a lot of different things. Like, even though he was a defensive midfielder, I think he had a little bit of that creative playmaking within him. He was pretty good. And especially there was one moment where this goes back to the point where we were sitting pretty deep and Leicester had the ball and they were just passing it around for a bit. And Fred was pretty much the only guy who got a little bit frustrated and ran up and started pressing. And Leicester actually lost the ball immediately after that. Like, that was really good to see him actually run and press the ball right after. So I like that he was willing to fight for the ball, go up for it. And I think he had a pretty good game as well. So
I had a question for you. So I was on a lighter note. Like, we always see like attack-minded players being converted into defensive midfielders or defenders by Jose. Is there any precedent of like a defensive player turning out to be really attacking under Jose?
I don't know, but like I don't agree with the fact that Jose's teams are defensive-minded. Yes,
no, he can teach an attacking player to defend or mold him or try to do that, but can he do the opposite?
But I don't think Jose has anything against players going up front, but as long as they always come back to win the ball, I don't think he's worried about it. So, but case in point, Luke Shaw having trouble with the managers, he goes up and usually gets caught out up. He's way up on his line, leaves his marker free, and then he has to run back, or sometimes he's too far behind to even catch up to his marker. And I think that's what Jose is worried about. Like Jose, I think prefers that his team don't concede first before they score. So I understand where he's coming. He prefers to not concede because that way it's easier for them to win by just that one goal. It's a fewer number of goals that they have to score to win. You might agree or disagree. Like I know like Ferguson played with the concept of we just score more than them. Kind of that's kind of the way he played. But I guess this is how Jose plays. Like we picked him as the manager, we have to play the way he wants to play. I
Yeah,
guess.
no, I was just wondering whether the versatility, like a trivia fun thing, like yeah, I remember a player. He used to be really the defensive type, but he played attacking under Jose, whatever. So let's talk about our World Cup winning captain for the day, Paul Pogba. I was surprised to see him in the starting lineup. I didn't expect him to start. I thought he would be on the bench. But as Jose said, he seems to be a monster. Like 4 days of training and play 80 minutes, wearing the captain's armband, scoring the penalty, and also fighting for the penalty. I saw some argument between Sanchez and Pogba, but that was healthy, I guess, and any team would have it to a certain extent. So yeah, and he played well and led the team. Play lasted 80 minutes. So I was happy. I want to see him succeed for us and play as well as he did for France. And I want the team management, the manager and the coaches to give him the confidence and the trust him. And with this season, I guess with Fred and Matic when he's back, he can play the favorite midfield three with Pogba. So he can be a little more free and attack and also come back and defend, do both just like he likes. So I was happy with Pogba. I say like he gave a 7.5 out of 10 performance for me. And I want to see him do better.
Yeah, I was surprised with Pogba starting as well. I probably thought he would come off the bench, but I guess Jose wanted to make a statement with starting Pogba and giving him the armband. I guess it felt like a statement to me that he was saying Pogba's not going anywhere, especially with all the rumors of Barcelona trying to get him and whatnot. I felt like that was a good touch. And yes, he had a pretty good game, I would say. He made a couple of really good defensive headers during the first 10-15 minutes as well. So he was running all over the field. Surprised he played 80 minutes as well. But yeah, so I guess this is the season where we get to see a much improved Pogba from last season. Not that he was not good last season. I felt like there were certainly some games where Pogba was brilliant, but he wasn't consistent throughout the season. There were some games where he was really frustrating to watch. And so I guess this is the season where I guess he needs to show that the difficult games are where he needs to like sort of dig deep and find whatever energy or whatever he has to find to go and get that ball, basically drive the team forward, because I think he is basically the person that everyone's looking to drive the ball forward from defense to attack. And I think that's the role he has to play, and I think that's the role he would be suited to playing because he's really strong and he's got amazing capability with his feet. So yeah, so I would agree, 7.5 out of 10 for Pogba as well.
Yeah, our friend three for the game, Alexis Sanchez, Juan Mata, and Marcus Rashford. So we didn't have our first choice, Lukaku. He was on the bench. He came in for a few minutes, but and Martial wasn't apparently fit enough to start. And Lingard, I guess, is still in training. So we started with these three players. Nothing special from these three players. Mata, yes. So I'll just say that all three of them gave like a 6 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10 for me. So especially like Sanchez, he was really good at the preseason, but I think the opening game he wasn't as effective. And Rashford, he was making the good runs. He was behind the lines, but he didn't get the service, I believe. And Mata did well, but definitely not one of his best games. He did an okay. So I just think that all three players had a decent game, not a very good game. But things can only get better from now. Yeah.
I thought Sanchez was extremely poor to start with. He was fairly didn't have any impact on the game apart from the one pass to Lukaku for the chance, and he gave away possession way too many times. he was getting easily dispossessed. Basically, Leicester were just putting two people on him and taking the ball off him every single time. And I think there's a little bit of Sanchez needs to get used to the difference between playing at Arsenal and Man United. Like I said, Arsenal, he was the guy who was expected to drive the ball forward, and at Man United, I don't think he has to realize that he's not supposed to do that. I think he should be okay with hold the ball up, pass it back, make the run, get the ball back. Kind of, I think that's what his role has to be instead of trying to beat the defender to get the ball forward. So I think that's a shift he has to do a little bit. But yeah, Sanchez can play a lot better. He's had a pretty good preseason, and his fitness levels are definitely supposed to be better than most of the team, at least right now. I'm expecting that he'll improve the next game. Rashford, as you said, yeah, he was making a lot of runs, but I think Rashford is still a little immature as a striker. Mostly, I guess, because he's not had the chances to play at a central striker position as much. He's mostly played as a wide player more often. So I can understand his frustration of not getting service, but I also felt like he was making his runs a little too soon, especially for someone with his pace. I would expect him to sort of like stand on the shoulders of the defender, wait for the ball to come before he makes his run, because he can definitely beat most of those defenders through pace. And also on the other side, I feel that getting used to playing with Lukaku up front was a little different for, I guess, the midfield. Because Lukaku is the kind of player you would pass the ball because he drops down, holds the ball up, passes it back, and makes the run after that. He's very strong that way. So I don't think Rashford does the exact same thing. Rashford expects the ball to be ahead of him and him making the run, while Lukaku is very comfortable with getting the ball on the defender's shoulders, holding it up for the players to arrive before he makes his run. So I guess that's a little different. They have to play with when Rashford is playing and Lukaku is not playing. Mata, I think, had a decent game. Again, the United's right side was being overrun by Leicester all the time. And Mata was dropping deep quite often to support Darmian in defense. And so he wasn't a big threat going forward, but he had a really good ball for Luke Shaw's goal. So he's got his ability. We all know that he can always pull that pass out from nowhere. So yeah, so I didn't have complaints about Mata's game. He gave the ball away a few times as well, but yeah, it's whatever. I think Mata can play better as well.
So that's the playing 11. So do you think any changes in the playing 11 for the next game, away game at Brighton?
I would probably think that
is Ander Herrera back to fitness, or is he expected to play the next game?
I'm not sure. I don't think Herrera is still fit.
Okay.
I would think Jose plays pretty much an unchanged 11, except I guess Lukaku would start ahead of Rashford. Or maybe Rashford plays on the right and Mata sits on the bench. But I'm pretty sure Lukaku is going to start the next game because I don't think Jose can keep him off the starting 11 for too long.
Yeah. I do think that, yes, Sanchez is going to start. So Lukaku needs to come in. So it's either going to be Rashford on the bench or Mata on the bench. Or they can be both on the bench and Lukaku can start and maybe, I don't know, Martial. I don't know where in terms of fitness or where in terms of the personal relationship with the player. I don't know the current status, exactly the inside scoop. So maybe he gets a few minutes. I don't know, he gets a start, but in place of Rashford. Or I don't know if Lingard is going to come back to training. The rest of his World Cup teammates are back. I don't know what's up with him. Was he left out of the squad, or is he still lacking some fitness? So any changes I would make only in the front three. So Lukaku, I agree with you, definitely is coming in. So in place of Rashford possibly. So Mata can keep his place or Mata can be benched as well. So I don't see any other changes in the midfield or in the defense. So same team, away game. So yeah, we have to. What are your predictions or your thoughts about the next game?
I think we're playing Brighton away, so it's going to be a little difficult playing an away game. But I would think we can get a comfortable 2-0 or we should get a comfortable 2-0 with this squad. I definitely feel that we have the players to get that result. Um, I would, yeah, I definitely don't think that we should lose or even draw the game. I definitely think we should win it.
Yeah, I am again like predicting like a 1-0 victory for us, and maybe a goal from like Sanchez or Lukaku. This is what I'm predicting: 1-0 away victory. I will take that if we are tactically disciplined and defensively solid, and nick that away goal and win the match. So yeah, I'm predicting like a 1-0 victory, and yeah, that should be a good result for us. And so what do you predict? Are we gonna win? You just said that, right?
Yeah, I think we should win. Yeah, I think we should win for sure.
So how do you see the other title contenders, top six, playing in the last week? I watched the Arsenal versus Manchester City match fully. Manchester City, they were not at their best, but they were pretty much still good, like really good. So they didn't have Kevin De Bruyne, they didn't have David Silva, they didn't have Leroy Sané starting the match. They had Vincent Kompany. So still their starting 11 looked really impressive. It's Sergio. They have such squad depth. Sergio Aguero, Riyad Mahrez, and Raheem Sterling. He has been a revelation under Pep Guardiola. Like no matter he gets a lot of criticism, but fans and media. But Sterling, he didn't have a good World Cup. He had a pretty ordinary World Cup in my opinion. But when he plays for Manchester City, Etihad, under Pep Guardiola, he's a different player. I think he's really good, and he has developed a lot. So Manchester City, really playing well. Arsenal under a new manager, Unai Emery, they played well in like some part of the match, but it's at home ground, and they still lost 2-0 to the champions. They have a really good forward line with Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan, Ozil, Lacazette comes in, Ramsey. Anybody would be lucky to have those players, but it's a new manager, so new manager, new team. Arsene Wenger, after 22 years, has left, so it's just kind of like how Manchester United was when Sir Alex Ferguson left. So I don't think Arsenal will be judged this season, but I was hoping as a contender like Manchester City starts on a losing note, but they didn't. And so that's with that match. Liverpool again, they're looking really good and really strong. So I think Liverpool and Manchester City were looking really good. Chelsea won the game. They played well, but yeah. And Tottenham, they do won. So none of them dropped points.
Well, Arsenal dropped points, but
I don't think they are in the top. Are they? Okay.
So I think Man City, they have very good squad depth, and I guess Pep just drills his team the way he wants them to play, and I guess his squad, he can basically take a player out, bring in another player, and they basically play the same way, like almost the same way. It is scary, and I still think, yeah, Man City are the team to beat this season. But I take a little bit of hope in the fact that we beat them last season. So I think that if we play them again, I think Jose has the goods to tactically beat them somehow. And so I still think a Man City Man United game would be interesting to watch, but I still think we can get a result out of that. Against City. Arsenal, I agree with you. Under a new manager, I think this season is going to be a free pass for them, but I would still be interested to see how they progress since the Arsene Wenger years, because Emery did a pretty good job at Juventus before this, so I'm hoping they do something different. I would really like to see Arsenal get competitive again, become title challengers, not because I want to see Man United Arsenal games be interesting again, mostly because I want Arsenal to be one of the teams against which City or Chelsea or Liverpool can drop points. And especially when you have more than one team that's strong, the title race gets a lot more interesting. And as a fan, it's more interesting to watch the games when you have teams winning everywhere and the results are unpredictable. So it makes it a little more interesting. I would say Liverpool are the team I'm more scared of among everyone else, because I just think that Klopp's team on a given day, if they have to win a match, I think he has the squad to beat any team. The only downside for his style of play was basically his high press game is probably a little caused a lot of fatigue on his players on a long run for a season, and they usually start dropping points somewhere during the mid to the end of this league time, and that's usually when they get into trouble when they have injuries and such. But I think they've done fairly good or like very interesting transfer deals this season. They've brought in some really good players. They've strengthened their midfield. They've strengthened their strikers. They've got new goalkeepers. So he's like strengthened basically every single department right now, and they'll look more threatening to me now than they did before. And especially in this game, they scored 4 goals. And Klopp basically switched out his front 3 just like that, and they still look just as strong. And I feel like they are going to be a really hard team to beat this season.
It's interesting you say that for with both City and Liverpool, that no matter who plays in the front 3 for Liverpool or no matter who plays for City, their system doesn't change. They're going to play the same way. But we can't say the same thing about our team. Like United, it's very personal dependent. I think it depends a lot on Pogba, Lukaku. So that's an interesting contrast. So yes, Liverpool looking really threatening. They beat Napoli final. So I do believe like Liverpool and City, just like last week we discussed, they are the team to beat. And but anyway, we shouldn't worry as long as we keep winning. Just keep winning, go one match at a time, and get that away win.
Yeah, and I think Chelsea has an advantage this season without not having to play the Champions League. And we've always know, especially for the big teams, when they have to play fewer games, they're actually more fresher when you play them. So they might have an advantage to win the league this season because they're playing fewer games. And obviously they want to get into the Champions League as for the next season for sure. So Chelsea would have to look out for them. They're under a new manager as well. And Chelsea, weirdly enough, every time they change a new manager, they become more threatening than they used to be. So that'll be interesting to watch.
Just like with Conte, when Jose came. So they play Arsenal next week. Arsenal, I think, have a tough fixtures, like opening of the season, like beginning of the season. They face City first, then they face Chelsea next. So Arsenal versus Chelsea.
But yeah, I think it's a good start for them. I think Emery gets to get away with 2 big games and not really get judged on them. And I think he gets a free pass for at least the first half of the season, as long as he's making some sort of progress and there's some change in the way they play.
Yeah, I think they are going to Stamford Bridge. It's Chelsea at home against Arsenal. So just a neutral hat to see, like, what are your predictions?
Yeah, two new managers, 2 fairly decent squads. I would say they're more comparable. I said Chelsea has a slightly better squad than Arsenal, I would say. I think Chelsea is probably going to win it 2-1.
Yeah, I'll go with the same 2-1. Yeah. So that was an interesting review and a preview. Hopefully, we come back here next week with a smiling face, looking back at how Manchester United beat Brighton. Yeah. So yeah.
All right.
All right. Yeah. See you again. See you next week.